Welcome to Rage Quit Wire. Got Pete here with my buddy Chris.
Yep.
What's going on, Chris?
We had a resounding victory for the US of A.
Yeah, so just USA, man, USA. So big congrats goes out to Alex Spots from the Strictly the Worst Guild Ball podcast crew.
Oh, yeah.
Did an awesome job. This guy, man, you know how you and I will sometimes talk about running the gauntlet or doing like Murderer's Row?
Yeah.
This guy literally did it. He played in the last chance qualifier on Friday. He did pretty decent in it, but he didn't win. He lost to the guy that did win, Shane. He played in the U.S. Nationals, won it on Saturday.
Yep.
And then he played in the Worlds today, which is Sunday.
And how many rounds are each of these? They're like 3+ rounds, right?
I think the one on
The last chance qualifier was the longest one.
Yeah, it was the longest one because they had I think it was 80 players. And I want to say it was, if it wasn't, man, let me pull this up real quick because I think it was, I want to say 6.
Yeah. You're just running the marathon at that point. It's pretty taxing.
Yeah, so
I would much rather be one of the European guys that got 2 weeks break.
Well, I think that's why a lot of people, when they go to Steamcon, they are like, oh, I'm just going to do the events and stuff. So the last chance qualifier had 83 players. A lot of them dropped after they were out and running because they want to go do the cool stuff. It was 6 rounds, so it was a 6-round tournament on Friday.
Holy shit.
Yeah. So played 6 rounds, and then U.S. champions was, let's go and just pull it up real quick, just kind of give everybody, that was 4 rounds. And then lastly, looking at the World Championships, this one was only 3 rounds because obviously there wasn't as many people. There were only 8.
Yeah, they whittled it down to that.
Yep. So, yeah, this guy went through Murderer's Row, and, I mean, he killed it with those farmers. And I tip my cap to him, too, because I was reading some people's Twitter feeds on Rage Quit Wire last night, and some people were, talking about, scheming how to beat Thresher. They're like, okay, what can we do to beat this guy, because we're going to play Alex tomorrow, and he's good with him. And I thought that would have been an opportunity for Alex Spots to be like, okay, I'm going to play Union or something, just to, switch it up on people. But he just straight up, hey, I'm going to bring my farmers, bring Thresher, and I'm just going to shove it down your throat hole.
Dude, why would you switch it up to mess with people when you know that you've already got something that's OP?
I mean, just get crafty with it, get cute with it. I don't know.
Yeah,
Pete Carroll it.
Yeah, we don't want to Pete Carroll this thing.
Instead of going beast mode, you just do a cute little rub-off screen slant
Yep.
thing and lose the Super Bowl. So what we're talking about, guys, is besides that, we just once again just congrats to him. Great job. The whole Chicago group, I think, did a good job running the podcast, or not running the podcast, but running the live stream. They were able to get into the Q&A, so we got to see. It wasn't as good quality as the UK one.
Yeah, if I could offer one piece of critique, it would just be that whatever they did to record and stream from that UK, specifically the keynote, I felt like the quality of the streamed games was fairly comparable.
It was okay.
But the audio in that keynote from the US versus the UK was just night and day.
Well,
that needed to be.
I actually think what the problem was is I don't think they were going to live stream it. I don't think it was something that was set up far in advance. And I think last minute they basically said, hey, we got some people that want to watch this. Let's go ahead and get them in there. Get the Strictly the Worst guys in there and record it. So I think it wasn't set up as detailed as the UK one.
Yeah, but that needs to be considered in the future.
It does.
So that's my only feedback.
Okay. So what we're going to talk about today is just some of the stuff that came out of that Q&A.
I think we're going to talk about how Chris needs to gloat a little bit.
Okay, we'll get to that.
I'm just saying.
I'm going to type this right now.
I look like a guy that kind of knows what he's talking about.
Chris wants to gloat like...
I do. Just kind of like an asshole.
Okay.
I've taken a lot of shit recently.
Yeah, and, that's why I like, kind of being so out there with the podcast. I mean, we're not extreme. We're not like Rush Limbaugh or anybody crazy like that. But, we don't care about throwing our opinion out there because honestly, it's like, who gives a fuck? It's just like, this is what we think. We're just kind of throwing ideas out there. Some of it's more informed than others. But usually we try to put some, at least some analysis and thought into it. And we try to talk to people to get a better, and clearer picture. But if we're wrong, we're like, okay, we're wrong. If we're right, it's like, well, that's cool.
Well, no, the thing that I think is the lesson to take away from this is, and what I've learned, and this is just true across almost all mediums, right? As soon as somebody says something and the internet disagrees with you,
they
want to be all over your ass. So guess what? Now I'm going to be all over the asses of everyone that gave me a whole bunch of shit because I feel really vindicated. So this isn't about.
So we're going to talk about this now. Apparently.
Well, this isn't so much about my ego. This is about the standpoint that so many voices love to like shout down an opinion that's different, that sometimes you're better served by actually listening to what that opinion is and seeing where you can apply the ideas from it. And it doesn't matter if it's my opinion or your opinion or an opinion on another podcast. The people that are expressing these are by taking into account another meta's perspective or whatever it is, that you can really elevate your game and experience some new combinations of skills.
So one thing that mainly this is coming from is, well, I'll let you go into the second part of this, but the first thing was we were talking about the Holy Church there.
Right? Well, okay, so this came from the keynote, right? And I just thought it was shocking how I made this kind of just offhand comment about, hey, I noticed that Spigot is a Sulfesian. He's wearing
and it surprised me,
a logo. And as soon as I said that and we posted it, I got all of this heat. Like, you don't know what you're talking about. It's just a logo. It's like somebody wearing a cross. That doesn't mean they're going to be like playing for the church. And sure enough, when we see the sculpts that come out for this new Sulfesians guild, which, by the way, for those that don't know, is going to be a minor guild to the Union. At least that's what I understood it.
Yep, that's exactly how it kind of came out.
And so as soon as we start seeing the models that are coming out, and we can talk a little bit about those, I like, I definitely like the gutter model that has that Sulfesian sculpt. But one of the ones that they included is all of a sudden they're doing a seasoned Spigot, a Spigot 3.
He looks pretty cool.
And it was right after I made the comment that I wonder if he's going to play for that group. And it's like, yeah, like they didn't make a mistake when they put those logos into the sculpt. They're not going to just add stuff to the sculpt for no reason.
That shows so much foresight on Steamforged that I'm just like, man, they really were putting this story together, man.
And that's what I have been saying along the way as well, is that when you look at how they handled that keynote in the UK, how they held stuff back so that they had more to reveal at the US Steamcon, and you look at the way that they're constructing these minor guilds and the things that they're talking about with how plot cards are going to work, they're obviously taking the steps to plan out their actions, and it's not just knee-jerk reactions all the time.
Yeah, which I definitely can appreciate. So what was the other big thing that you feel vindicated about?
Thank you, Alex Bots, for kicking people's ass with the farmers. Because what's going to happen now, and you gave me my wish. Thank you so much. Because what's going to happen right now is everyone that's like a hardcore Guild Ball player is going to say, look at what those farmers did. And it wasn't just Alex Bots. It was
Shane.
Yeah, Shane. Do we know what's his last name?
I'll pull it up, but go ahead and talk.
Anyway, there were multiple people that played those farmers at a very high level, and everyone keeps thinking, well,
Shane Waddy.
Okay, so everyone keeps thinking, well, they'll nerf them when everyone's playing it. That's not the point that I'm making. I don't think that the farmers are a great team for everybody to play. I don't think it's going to take somebody that's a mediocre or new player and make them a star player that's winning every tournament all of a sudden. What I think is that those farmers in the hands of a skilled player are overpowered enough to where it really slants the results in favor of the person playing that guild amongst top level players. And so everyone's going to start playing those farmers, especially really high quality players now. You're going to see those farmers win all over the place. And they're going to nerf those farmers sooner, which thank you, because I don't want OP guilds. I want it to be balanced. And all of the things that everyone was telling me along the way is, oh, well, they're going to be victimized by these control teams. The hunters are just going to control all of their movements and actions. Well, yeah, right, because the rest of the world brought some hunters, and they got ran through.
And it's not just, these are people that are top players in the world. These aren't just, people at like our local store. It's not like me taking my farmers into a brand new player and saying like, just stomped you. I mean, looking at this.
No. The one game that proves the point is the finals of the World Championship.
Well, hold on with it. So, because in round 2, okay, Alex Bots played Christian Metz. And once again, Alex is a great player. We're not taking anything away from him. But
Christian, it's in the hands of an expert player.
Exactly. Christian Metz is a really good player. He's a really good Masons player. He likes playing hammer. And he got goose-egged. He got goose-egged 12-0 playing against those farmers. And then the control team that you're like, oh, they can cause some problems, was 12-2 when Alex Bots beat Peter Williamson, who's from, I think he's not from Australia. He's from New Zealand.
Okay.
So he's a really great hunters player, and he ended up, not doing so hot into that game.
You're talking about some of the best players in the world getting murked.
Yeah.
At a world championship.
Yep.
We're talking blowouts, right?
Well, not all of them, because like his first round game, Alex Bots barely beat Pin Vice Engineers.
That's fine, but all of the games at that level should be close.
And you want to know what? I thought an interesting point is I was talking to Michael Klein. I texted him this afternoon, and I asked him, I'm like, do you think Thresher is OP? Do you think he needs to be changed? He's like, I think he does need some tweaks, but he said that some people can deal with him. It's still a tough game. But he said there are some guilds that just have like no answer for that Thresher list.
Yeah.
And it's just one of those.
And it's not just a Thresher list. I think the Grange list is the same. But the difference is Alex Bots didn't play the Grange list because that's not what he's into.
Well, see, so actually Alex Bots has spoken to this before where, people agree with him that if you knew you were kicking or receiving before you kicked the ball off, people would drop Grange usually when they receive the ball because he's pretty strong into a receiving.
Oh, for sure.
Game.
Yeah.
So
because you put it on Gesture there's nothing.
But the fact that you don't know whether you're going to kick or receive is why they always go to Thresher, because they're like, he's good in both scenarios.
Yeah, I look at those lists, and to me, they're so OP in the hands of top level players that I think it's ridiculous. And I don't know how. I mean, I don't only have to give Alex Bots props for winning in these tournaments over 3 days and 3 tournaments and all this kind of stuff. I'm going to give him credit for not completely revealing his hand on his podcast. With what he's figured out, I'm surprised that he wasn't so giddy every single time he recorded a podcast that everyone didn't see exactly what was going to happen.
Well, see, he
must be the greatest actor on earth.
He's been proxying farmers for a while, and he actually hasn't been too shy about sharing kind of what he thinks is good. I think he has been pretty good about not telling people like, hey, here's how, I'm going to play the entire game. He doesn't spell it out for people because I think he's a good player and he can adjust as necessary. And that's where you get those top level players. So gave Chris a minute there, and we're going to talk more just kind of about that here in a minute. Not just the farmers thing, but just kind of how all the other guilds did, I think.
Yeah, I think that there's been a lot of exciting things that happened over the weekend, and how people have
whether you agree that farmers are OP or not, that's neither here or there. But the fact is that there are people that think they're OP, and during that whole stream, I even heard Jamie from Steamforge ask people like, yeah, that's kind of good. Do you think they're OP? So, I mean, Steamforge is talking about this, and there's going to be some adjustment made, whether it's a small tweak or whether it's a hard nerf bat. So we'll see. But we're going to talk about minor guilds. We also got the design and model that came out. We'll talk quickly about the OPD and the new plot card system because they gave us some hints at what they might do with that. We're talk real quick about the tournament results, just some other things we noticed. And then if you want to check out some of the God tier pictures, they're all over Twitter and Facebook. We posted some on our Rage Quit Wire Twitter feed,
Tweeterly.
Yep. And yeah, so looking at, they showed us some more minor guild stuff.
Yeah, they did. I really liked what they revealed. The Ratcatchers Guild, there are some people that have liked that idea. I wasn't super excited for it. Like, I thought it could be all right. But the new Falconers Guild that are going to be the minor guild to the Hunters looks dope. I love what the sculpts look like on that and the whole premise and concept. I'm really excited to see how they play. I wonder if the minor guilds are going to take a cue from the major guilds and have a similar playstyle to those major guilds because they have to share some models, or maybe they'll tweak them to where they play completely differently and they're a minor guild that is heavy melee or heavy scoring for a hunter's guild that's primarily a control guild.
Yeah, so the two models that they showed us was Falcon and Minerva. So we got two models. One has this really cool bow. One has this staff. They both obviously have stuff to deal with birds. Minerva's kind of cool. She has an owl, almost like some kind of ode to Athena, kind of like on her shoulder. And of course, Falcon's going to have a falcon, and that'd be cool if he had some kind of like ability where like the falcon could go out and maybe do an attack, or it could get the ball or something.
Yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if they have these falconers take cue from the blacksmiths where they have more long range ability to influence the game.
Yeah, I mean, because the hunters are good at character plays, so I think it would make sense that their minor guild would also have some really cool character play.
I would think so too. While we're on the subject of that, the hunters also, we got a reveal on something else for the hunters.
Yeah, so I mean, are you talking about? Oh, good night. So I think that when the British people saw this, because it was so just so everybody knows, if just in case there was a design a model seminar that you go to, and just real quick, I just want to say that I've been to some cons and I've been to some grand tournaments, and I'm going to go to Steamcon next year just because the fact that it's not just a tournament and not just a selling kind of thing where you can actually go and see these seminars is one of the most unique things I've seen at a gaming con.
That's got my interest. I totally agree. I hope they keep that. I've heard multiple people say that they go for those events more than the gaming.
So, but looking at it, they could go to a seminar where you design a model, and the British guys designed veteran.
Yeah, they were sane.
So we talked about that because it's a cool model. They showed what the dog's probably going to look like.
Yeah,
which
looks like my dog.
Looks a lot like your dog. And then the Americans got a hold of the seminar. And we're American. We can appreciate.
Yeah, but here's the thing.
We can appreciate crazy things.
Okay, so what this model looks like is it's a veteran version of Cena.
From the Hunters.
From the Hunters.
Who's a bear.
And it's supposed to have like the spirit of a woman in it. And it's on fire.
Like transforming into a bear.
Yeah, so there's like a lot going on with it. But here's the part that I think is fucked up. And I think that the American attendees were fucking with the guys from Steamforge. Is what they created here, and Steamforge probably isn't aware of this American mythos, is they basically created a skinwalker model.
Yeah.
Like, this model is terrifying and kind of fucked up that they basically have this person taking control of this animal skin and morphing into this creature.
I was kind of thinking like maybe...
It's like a horror movie.
Maybe like Man Bear Pig.
I don't know. Man.
So they showed this model, and I think the Americans got a kick out of it. And
I'm sure they did, because they were probably fucking with them.
It's super busy, and I like the idea of it, but you can... So when you see a render, that's automatically saying like, hey, this is what it could look like, but it's a work in progress, right? I think they were so like, I don't want to say embarrassed by this model, but I think they were so like, we don't know what we're doing with this. The Americans gave us some messed up stuff, and we're just trying to figure it out. That we're going to put work in progress.
On the PowerPoint, it doesn't just say work in progress. It says work in progress in all caps with an exclamation point. So they're making it clear this is not what we're turning out.
Yeah. So I heard rumors they were talking about in the seminar that maybe they'll make it like a mama bear with some bear cubs, and there'll be a goalie. So that was something being talked about, which, I mean, I guess that could be interesting.
Dude, if you're ever around bear cubs, get out of there.
Yeah, I was actually...
That's a scary place to be.
So I was actually talking, I was on Twitter this morning, and I was talking to somebody because I was like, dude, this this model is kind of freaking nuts. And so I was talking to people, and God, who was it? I was talking, and they were like, yeah, man, a mama with their bear cub is like nuts. You want to stay away from that. Yeah, it was, I don't think it was Tim W., but it was somebody else. And they were just like, yeah, you don't want to be near a mama bear when you got the bear cubs around. So
yeah, so
I think that would be better than what they put on the screen.
Oh yeah, I don't think they should have a horror movie Skinwalker as one of their models. I agree.
Okay, so we got that. The other minor guild was obviously the Holy Church. We already talked about them.
Yeah, but we did get some new models, and so to give some comments about the spigot, I do really like the sculpt on it. It's more dynamic.
He looks sobered up.
He does, and I like that. So there's one thing that I really like about these Solstician themed models, and one thing that kind of bugs me and I think is weird. I like the armor on them. I like the hoods that they're in. I like how they have kind of that Assassin's Creed look.
Sure.
But I'm tired of these damn ribbons all over them. I'm like, did you just go to the county fair and win Best in Show? Like, these ribbons, I'm just not into those.
Talking about the one they used to tie it up on the top there?
No, every single one of these models, even this lion, and we'll talk about this lion in a second, has like ribbons and things hanging all off of it.
I mean, I think those are just like seals, and those are just, like the sashes that like priests wear, and I think it's just
it's overkill.
It is, but I kind of like, because if you're good at freehand, I think you can do some cool things with those. Their mascot's going to be this sweet lion. I mean, it's on this weird, it almost looks like a crypt, almost like that's sitting on some kind of altar, maybe.
Yeah, an altar, definitely. You know what? I wonder if they based it on like Chronicles of Narnia, like Aslan.
Yeah, I don't know. I mean, but I'm thinking about base size, and that's got to be at least would you say 50?
I would say 50. I would put it on a similar base to Cena.
Yeah, I mean,
but that's going to be a trip if that's going to be the mascot.
Yeah, mascot on a 50.
Well, the thing that's so unreal is with Cena, they made that an actual player, and it generated no influence.
Yeah.
Are they going to have a mascot that generates no influence? And are they going to have a lion that is nowhere near on par with a bear? Which would be surprising to me.
It's going to be tough. I mean, it looks very imposing the way it's sculpted there.
I wonder if we're looking at a change coming down the line where they de-emphasize mascots, which is very reasonable to happen in Season 4.
Yeah, because they already did that with Blacksmiths.
They have already done it with Blacksmiths. I think that people would rather have a full-on bear or lion that's able to affect the game and be a heavy hitter instead of just these mascots that run around and have a menial effect.
And I just want to spend one more second on this new guild and just say that they got Touchdown Harry.
They do.
So it's just Harry apparently is going to be resurrected or something by the church somehow.
Born again, free from sin.
Yeah, I guess they just raised him up.
Yeah.
And yeah, he's got this touchdown Jesus. He has the sash over his, around his neck, and he's spreading the word. You can tell he's just
it's like he's like on his. I'm gonna put him on a soapbox. That's what I'll do. I'll make a soapbox.
Like he's preaching.
Yeah, I don't. What's that place? It's like that square in the UK where people go and they are able to preach whatever their thing is. So they have like the communists that show up.
Yeah, almost like the criers.
Yeah,
sitting on the corner.
Yeah, so that's what he looks like he's doing. To be honest, I'm not crazy about the model. Just kind of standing wide open like that. Yeah. Like, it's okay, but I don't think it's terrible.
So looking at the minor guilds, there was a couple of things that also got, I wouldn't say spoiled, but they definitely heavily hinted at. Okay. So apparently, and just a shout out to Phil Bowen from the Guild Ball Tonight crew. He basically live tweeted this stuff out. So he tweeted out what the question was and how they responded to it. And one of the things he tweeted out is apparently Lamplighters are going to be one of the minor guilds. Okay. They didn't say which one. Somebody just asked about it, and he said yep, that's definitely going to be something.
Like engineers could be a good thing.
Yeah, maybe.
I don't know.
So that was just something that was good to hear. And minor guilds are just the other unique thing that I thought they mentioned, and Phil tweeted this out, was that apparently in the new OPD packet that they use for, tournaments and stuff, minor guilds and the big guilds, big league, I guess we can call them, they're going to have different potentially roster sizes. So you're going to have 8 for the minor guild, and maybe like they're going to increase the major guilds to even like 10 or 12.
So I really like this from the standpoint of somebody being able to bring the whole team. I think that's cool. But I dislike this from the standpoint that it tells me the minor guilds are going to have stronger models than the major guilds because they're going to have
because they want them to be competitive.
They're going to have to be able to do everything that others can do in 12 models with only 8.
Yep.
So that's a little bit concerning for me, but we'll see how they do it and how it plays out. And I trust Steamforged. I trust them to nerf the farmers, and I trust them to get this right.
Yeah, and also every guild is going to have a minor guild. There's no guild that's not getting one, and they said this will probably happen over the span of like the next 2 years.
Yeah. I think that we're getting to a point. I believe that there have been some comments from Steamforged creators that there's kind of an end to Guild Ball in sight as far as what they want to release, where they want to tweak the game to be. And at that point, they're going to stop continually releasing models for it, and it'll just be standardized, and that'll
just adjusting models.
Yep, and tweaking here and there, but the people will basically have what they want. I think that what they might release are more new variant sculpts over time, but not constant guild releases along the way.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's very ambitious to release that many minor guilds in that amount of time, so I would actually probably be okay with it just because I'm like, yeah, there's a ton of new stuff that just came out, after that time period.
Well, and I know that in my case, there's that natural series of events, right? The new stuff comes out, they need to make it a little bit OP so that people buy it. So there's some natural power creep. And then what I think is the best way to handle it, and what it seems like Steamforged will do, is nerf that down to a reasonable level after people have started getting it, right? And they're a little bit attached to the models. And I think that's reasonable. Yeah. Obviously, what I would prefer is if they release that stuff and it's a little bit weaker than it has to be to not throw off the competitive play, and then they buff it up as they see what it needs. But that's not as good marketing-wise or financially.
So something else I thought was interesting, because they got the crossover models from the major guild to the minor guild.
Mm-hmm.
So a question that was asked was, will Bonesaw and Vet Graves get a rebalance in the Rat Catcher's box? And then the answer was, it would be foolish not to tweak them. We can make the teams that they play well with, basically with those models retweaked. So I think like those 2 models, and then for the Hunters going into the Falcons, it was Egret and Vet Hearn are going into the Falcons Guild.
Oh, are they?
Or the Falconers Guild. So I think they're going to use those as convenient times to retweak kind of the weaker models they want to shove into those boxes.
Okay, yeah, that could be good, and I like that they're choosing models. Vet Hearn doesn't see a ton of play.
No.
Yeah, who was the guy from the Morticians, the scorer that you mentioned?
The what?
The scorer for the Morticians. Bonesaw.
Yeah, Bonesaw.
Bonesaw doesn't see a ton of play, so I would like it if they took the ones that don't see a lot of play. Granite would be a good choice.
Yep.
To do that with, and give them a little bit of tweaking so that they're playable, and maybe it'll get more of that product sold for those new guilds when they come out.
Yeah, and looking at it, I think they're doing the right thing in spirit of the game. Like anything they're talking about changing and the reasons they're giving, I've been very like, I'm okay with. I'm like, yeah, that sounds like a company that's trying to do the right thing. And you can definitely see that when they talked about the new plot card system that they're talking about doing, because there's a couple issues they talked about. One, they were like, plot cards don't get used all the time because you either forget about them or they're useless. So what they're doing is they're going to make it where at the beginning, probably during the maintenance phase, you have to play a card, and it has an effect for the entire round, or you can use it to boost up your initiative. So, like, you're a person who hates that initiative roll.
Yeah, because I hate that it's just pure dumb luck.
So, instead of losing just because of probability, you can say, I'm going to put this card down, but I'm going to use the initiative value instead of playing the effect.
Okay.
So
I would like to see if they did it sort of like the Big League, where each and the guild identity cards do this as well, but I don't really like those guild identity cards. If they had a plot deck, sort of like the Big League, where it was unique stuff to your guild,
yeah,
and what your guild would.
Well, I think that's what the guild identity cards are going to become.
Yeah, but I don't like those guild identity cards because they fuck with my healing rate.
No, fair enough. So that's a change they're talking about doing. So that is going to be a change, I feel like, and they're talking about doing that sooner than later. Another change that they are talking about, we already talked about with the OPD, was where did I just see that? I just lost it because you started talking about that.
Sorry. If it's not clear to those that listen, I tend to be a little bit more improvisational.
Yeah,
and Pete is a little bit more organized.
You're the rambler for sure.
I'm a rambling man.
Are you?
Yeah.
I thought you were going to go into like the song and dance.
I could. Would you like to hear?
No, I would not. So, oh man, this bugs me now that I can't remember. Anyway, so we get a new initiative system, and yeah, it's going to clean up the game. I think they're talking about it's going to be 18 cards. You're going to deal them. You're going to keep 5, and then you're going to use them. So I mean, I think since you're keeping 5 and they want you to play each turn, they're hoping that the game's going to be over in 5 turns.
Okay.
I mean, I guess.
Well, I don't have a problem with that. I think most games that I play are over in 5 turns.
Well, because it's like, what happens if you run out of cards at that point?
Then you're fucked.
Apparently. Maybe you start losing stuff. Anyways, man, I can't believe I can't remember that.
Okay, well, I'll let you think about what you needed to remember. I'm going to talk a little bit about what we saw with some of these new PVC sculpts.
Okay.
And so we got a PowerPoint slide of some butchers, which of course have my interest, and some hunters. And so from the hunters, we got to see new PVC versions of Zarola and Yakar. And these look to me fairly similar to the ones that were existing, but they are standing.
No, they're upright.
And the objects that they're holding and attacking with are pretty much the same.
Oh, I remember what I was going to say now.
So I guess that they just didn't like that they were crouched down.
Yeah, so what I was going to say is that they asked if the alternate deployment was going to be something they considered in the new OPD.
Mm-hmm.
And they said, no, we're considering that. So all those people that hate the new deployment or the people that like it, it's up in the air, it sounds like.
Dude, they need to just make that change. People that don't like it need to suck it up and deal with it, because that just makes for a better turn one. Yes. Turn one just fucking sucks.
Some people like their traditional turn one.
You're right. You're right. So, there will always be people that cry that it's not the same thing that they've always had.
So they're standing up.
So anyway, with these new PVC models, the Hunters ones basically look similar to what they did before, except they made them standing, I guess to make them more dynamic. But the ones for the Butchers, they actually look fairly different to me. I like the Brisket. She definitely has a little bit of swagger to her, swaying her walk a little bit.
Yeah.
I like that the Shank doesn't have those chains everywhere that are easily going to break, which I think that I speak for everyone that's on a Shank model, and that's a pain in the ass. But I think it's kind of weird that they just put the chains all over him, like he's playing this sport with heavy chains all over his body.
When are we going to let them chains go?
I guess. The one that I am just like, what were you thinking, is this junky version of, and by junky I mean like meth head version of Meat Hook that just looks like she's on something.
Yeah.
The head on that model just looks weird, and she looks like she has a fucked up hairline.
I think it's really smart because what they're doing is, I think they're going to release these on Kickstarter.
Okay.
And
No. I thought they said they weren't. I swear that when I was listening to it, the sound quality wasn't great, but I swear they said, no, we're not doing these with Kickstarters. But they did say that they're creating a system where they want a lot of feedback from consumers to know if they want to continue with this sort of thing.
Well, see, and they got to do one or the other. Either they got to put it on Kickstarter just for those people that want it, or they're going to have to be like smart about it, because I tell you what, I'm not like, if they come out with a brewer's pack, I'm not buying it.
What if they look way better?
Don't care.
Liar.
No, because honestly, if it's a whole pack, like if I have to spend like,
first of all, I know what you're going to do if they come out with a new brewer's pack and you like the skulls better. You're going to sell the ones that you don't like from the old pack, and then you're just going to get the new ones, and that way you can paint them.
No, because it'll be impossible to sell those old ones. So that's what I'm saying. It's just, I'm one of those guys where it's like, I don't need the new shiny models. I already have it. I'm playing with it. That's great. I would rather just get a new guild. So if they came out with that and it was a guild I don't have, which is becoming fewer and fewer, then I would possibly think about it. But that's what I'm saying is, like, you already have all these metal ones that, and dude, the local stores, it's like, how are they going to sell all this shit? You know, you got all these 6-man packs. You got some of these old 3-man packs sitting around. You still have these solos sitting on your shelves. It's like, and now you're going to throw these 12-man boxes.
Piece of advice is, I really think that for people that have a guild and they don't have all the models and they just need a couple individual models, hurry up and get those, because
they're harder to get.
They're getting harder to get, and eventually you'll get to the point where they're going to have a model that's in season 4 or something. It gets buffed up. You want it now, but the only way you can do it is in a 6-man battle box. That will suck. So if you are still needing to get certain models, get them now. Make your life easy. I'm just going to go out on a limb and say that I anticipate that problem in the future.
Yeah, it's just...
As far as the PVC models, though, yes, if I have a bunch of metal models and I add a PVC one, that will bother me more from the standpoint of the weight of it and picking it up on the board.
I don't care about that.
Yeah, I know you don't care about that. That will be the thing that bothers me most. I will absolutely buy models if I like them better. Yeah. So if you do new sculpts and you have a better ox in there than boring arms folded ox, then yeah, I'll consider getting it. And so, but I don't want to get this new meat hook. That model looks crazy.
Okay. So let's go ahead and look at some of these, because is there anything else you feel like you need to talk about as far as any of the information released at the Q&A?
No, gloating over.
Yeah.
Ranting over.
Okay.
Well, I don't know what you're going to bring up. There could be more ranting.
Probably. So there always is.
It's just an endless supply.
Oh, yeah. So before we get into the last thing that I want to mention to you, let's go ahead and do a quick Rage Wire classics of the rage quitting.
Well, I want to tell the story about Joe at Myrtle Beach.
You don't want to share the one with you and Kevin?
No, well, that's a really good one, and I feel like I've done enough, like, kind of raging on this podcast that I think I should share the Joe one, because that's a funnier story.
All right, we'll get the toned down one. Go. Really?
Yeah. So here's the story. So we have a
Rage Quit Classic.
Rage Quit Classic. We have a friend named Joe. He goes out with us to tournaments, and this one was about 2 hours away in Myrtle Beach. And we start playing this. By the way, this isn't really so much a rage quit story. It's more of just a quit story. That's really funny. So we go out to Myrtle Beach. We play the first round of this tournament, and we decide, hey, we're going to get something to eat, because we drove all the way out here, and now we've gotten around in, so it's been a few hours. It's time to get something to eat. So we go to this little restaurant. The service was slow as hell in that place.
Well, welcome to the South.
Yeah.
Okay.
But anyway, the waitress was super cute. But
easy now.
I'm just saying, she was cute. But Joe gets this big, over-the-top, big boy burger sandwich. And Joe is, just so that you guys can kind of picture Joe, Joe's not a very big guy.
Nope.
He's a little bit older. He's in his 50s.
The late 40s, 50s, yeah.
Okay.
50s.
Anyway, so he's not a very big guy. He's a little bit older, and I think that he said that he has some issues with, like, his blood sugar.
Oh yeah.
Right. So he gets this big old burger. It's huge, and he decides. At first, he says, I'm not going to eat all this, and I'm just not going to do it." So he doesn't keep his word, and instead he just plows through this whole thing, right? And so we start going back to the shop to continue with this game, and Joe's just in the car, and he just keeps saying like, "Man, I don't know that I feel very well. I don't think I can keep going. I don't think I can keep going in this tournament." And so one round in, he drops out of this tournament, basically about to die or roll into a diabetic coma.
A food baby.
Yes, definitely a food baby. Turning this into, a life-changing event, and we're gonna have to rush him to the hospital. Fortunately, we didn't, and in the end, he got to do his favorite thing, which is watch people play kill ball and not have to play in a tournament. And so that's the story of not a rage quit, but a quit by Joe, if you will. Yeah. And so that's our rage quit classic this week.
Yeah, so I kind of want to spend the last few minutes here just kind of looking at the last chance qualifier, just looking at some of the things that happened during this. Did you get a chance to watch any of the actual matches kind of on
I did. By the way, Jamie did a great job on calling those.
Yeah. So looking at it, they had, like I said, it was over 80 people. It was 83. And if you had to pick the top 3 guilds that people brought, which 3 would you pick?
At that level of play, I would say that you would see a lot of Masons.
Masons was number 1.
Okay. I would say that you would see, I don't know about the Alchemists because they've hit that nerf, but I'd be inclined to lean that way.
It was not Alchemists.
Okay.
They were probably the 4th or 5th.
Okay. That was tough. I would imagine Hunters because of the European and world influence.
Nope, Hunters were last.
Oh, because there just weren't enough of them to offset all the Americans that were playing.
Yeah, apparently.
Okay. That makes sense. So we're basically just looking at Americans then. So let's see. So I said Masons.
Yep.
I would go. I would pick Farmers because I think that they're just so.
Farmers was tied for 3rd for most brought.
Okay. And I would go with Union because they're
Union
so
was tied for 3rd.
Okay.
So the 2nd place one was actually Fish. So there were a lot of Corsair kicking around there.
Okay.
So yeah, it was.
You know what that tells me? It tells me that the nerf that Shark took wasn't detrimental to people's play.
No, because I think people are like, hey, this Corsair guy is pretty good. And
yeah, I think that they actually did just the right thing where people said, hey, I still want to play Shark, but I obviously need to expand my game, so I need to look into Corsair, and Corsair is pretty decent as well, and so I'll keep playing these fish. That's what I imagine a lot of people took away from that Shark nerf. They probably helped that guild a lot by that nerf.
Yeah, and just kind of looking at just down the line, I mean, Masons it speaks to how flexible they are and how really good players can take advantage of them.
Mm-hmm.
Because in the top 10, I mean, there were 3 Masons players in the top 10. So, I mean, a really flexible guild. And once again, Farmers are up there because if you're really good with them, then they're very competitive.
Well, so here's what I take away from this. Masons and Union are taken because they're very flexible. Mm-hmm. In the hands of a skilled player, they're able to adapt very well, both depending on the matchup you see and in-game. The Fish are taken because they're probably the ultimate scoring team at this point, right? If the ultimate scoring team were the Engineers or the Alchemists, I imagine they would take that spot. And then the Farmers, and everyone already knows how I feel about this, I think they're the ultimate melee team. I think they're going to beat any other melee team in melee, so that's why they got taken. So we got the 2 most flexible guilds, and then the best melee team and the best scoring team, and that makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and just a quick shout out to Christian Metz. He's from Germany. Like I said, a really awesome player. He actually finished 7th, 5-1 with the Blacksmiths, which I thought was really impressive because you don't have a lot of
practice. Both boxes though, right?
Yeah.
Okay.
But he didn't have a lot of practice time besides proxying some stuff, so I feel like that is pretty impressive to finish that high up in a tournament like that.
Yeah, I would, but
because he plays Masons pretty straight up.
Okay, so here's the thing: top level players, right? They're the people that are the best players that you see are really smart people.
Yeah.
Really sound in their ability to play probably any game that they put in front of you.
Yep.
And so I would imagine that for the majority of players, ends up happening is when Christian breaks out a brand new blacksmith's box, he's at an advantage because even though it's a new guild to him, he's able to learn it quicker than the people that he's playing against. And so for him, it's lots of gotcha moments against them. And for them, even though he might not have it real polished up yet, they're thinking, crap, like now I don't know what I can do because I don't know who can shoot me from 6 inches away and tackle the ball and all this kind of stuff.
See, and I'm glad that we're starting to go to some of this national stuff, especially the ATC, because I feel like you don't know these players like from Joe to Bob. So like I could be like, hey, that's Christian Metz over there that you're playing against next round, and you'd be like, okay.
That's totally what I would like. I'd be like, all right, sure,
that's cool.
I'm not gonna like opposition research that shit. What I am gonna do is make sure to put all the guilds on the table and get some practice in against all the guilds so that I know what those models do. But I'm not gonna try and like look up everybody's stats on Longshanks, which actually is a cool feature of Longshanks. If anyone ever wants to just kind of kick around some time and look at how they would match up against everyone, that match, what do they call that? It's like the bookie
feature?
It's
the bookie function.
So yeah, that's pretty cool how you can see how you'd match up against others.
Yeah. The only thing that I feel like we need to talk about just kind of at the end of this is just that we got our Blacksmith release party coming up this Saturday, the 9th of December. Yep. That's going to be a fun time at the final round, which is our official sponsor of the podcast.
Still got a snowball microphone from them.
Yep. So that should be a fun event. I'm going to play Blacksmith that first box just to kind of crack it open and see how it plays.
I'm going to draw a team out of a hat.
Are you really?
No. I just don't know what I'm going to play.
Yeah, and it's going to be fun because we got a couple.
Maybe I should play farmers.
Whatever floats your boat.
Hey Pete, can I borrow your farmers?
Sure. So it's going to be a fun event. If you're somewhere close to South Carolina and you feel like doing a 3-round farmers event, get some cool cards out of it, just come on by. We are probably going to start sometime close to 11:30 noon, depending on how the nerds start trickling in.
So like noon?
Probably.
Everyone, we're out. Roll dice, throw salt. Later.